Andrew Jack Whittaker Jr., known to the world as Jack Whittaker, might have been one of America's moneyed men to have ever won a major lottery jackpot, winning $315 million and blowing it all in just 4 years. But what do we really know about Jack Whittaker? Before lottery win, while Jack Whittaker's name is now synonymous with the biggest lottery winner who squandered all his winnings and was broke in 4 years, Andrew Jack Whittaker was a self-made millionaire who led a wealthy lifestyle well before his lottery win at the age of 55. He still had a lot of money then, but he'd later be known for his love for cowboy hats and Western-style clothing. He ran a number of construction businesses in West Virginia, hence his wealth. But everything changed after he pocketed $113.4 million after the big lottery win. Before winning the lottery, Whittaker lived in Scott Depot, and he was a regular Powerball player. He had great plans for his winnings, if he ever won the jackpot, and planned to give it to the churches and his family after the win. And true to his words, he actually made these donations, which could be why he didn't want to be crucified as the lunatic who lost all his winnings when he was interviewed in 2007. The win. When this 55-year-old man, who was then the president of a West Virginia construction company, won the biggest lottery ticket worth $315 million in the Powerball jackpot in December of 2002, Jack quickly became a sensation. Even though he opted for the lump sum payout of $113.4 million after tax, he had, after all, won the largest ever jackpot in just a single ticket. But he wasn't some poor country slob. At the time of this life-changing win, Whittaker was worth $17 million, which at that time was a huge deal. So, with the biggest once-in-a-lifetime win in his lap, Whittaker made big plans, as anyone would. His win was largely televised, as he flew to New York in a private jet, accompanied by family, making appearances in top network morning TV shows. His plan included the distribution of his newly earned mega wealth, and this involved a pledge to donate 10% of the fortune to some of the Christian charities. The donations also included a $14 million donation to his foundation, the Jack Whittaker Foundation, which was created to do good in society. And as the good-natured human that he was, another relatively big chunk of his winnings went to a woman that worked at the grocery store he had purchased the winning jackpot ticket from. The lovely lady received a house worth $123,000 and $50,000 cash donation and a new Dodge Ram truck. The good after winning the lottery. One of the remarkable things that came from Jack Whittaker's life and the lottery win has to be the work that his foundation did, the Jack Whittaker Foundation. The foundation spent $23 million to build 2 churches years after the win. His family is also known for donating food, clothing, as well as college scholarships to a number of local students in need. And despite his failure, Whittaker had made plans to put Brandy Bragg, his granddaughter, on his payroll. The plan was for him to leave her a good inheritance. These plans went up in flames in 2004, just before Christmas, when her body was uncovered in a junkyard. It's suspected that she died from a drug overdose. When this happened, Whittaker's memorable words were, she was going to inherit everything. Reckless living after jackpot win. Or is it the curse of the lottery? Unfortunately, despite Whittaker's good deeds and perhaps his intentions to appeal to and attract good karma, his life seemed to fall apart all around him. For reasons only known to him and perhaps the few individuals that were really close to him, he could never escape his demons. He became a victim of lawsuits, endless scandals, and many other personal setbacks, which he endured not just because of his recklessness, but also the endless and constant requests for money from people all around him. He soon lost his trust in people in his life, and he soon found himself in a well of regret, wishing he'd never won or that he had torn that ticket apart. Despite being wealthy before the win, this money seemed to set off a different side of him, and things went awry for him afterwards. His wife left, and the saddest bit would be the fact that his friend introduced and addicted his granddaughter to drugs. Notably, Jack gave his granddaughter a huge stipend, which naturally attracted some bad characters in her life, and nothing good came of it. According to the West Virginia Gazette, Brandy Bragg received up to $2,000 in weekly stipends, alongside 4 cars that were all gifted by her granddad. A few months after the big win, Whittaker's life was beset with never-ending personal problems and legal difficulties. What stirred all that trouble? Well, after the win, Whittaker started drinking quite heavily. He frequented strip clubs, and he was a tad too reckless. On August 5, 2003, thieves broke into his car in West Virginia strip club parking lot and stole $545,000 in cash. It seems that he didn't learn a lesson on walking around with large wads of cash. And the same fate befell him on January 25, 2004. In yet another one of his trips to the strip club, it was reported that thieves who had broken into his Lincoln Navigator had gotten away with a briefcase that was stuffed with at least $245,000 in cash, as well as 3 cashier's checks, each worth $100,000. He caught a break that one time as the briefcase was recovered with the money still in it. He was lucky though, and the cash was recovered later. But Whittaker went on flaunting his wealth to anyone who would listen, and someone is always listening. Just that Whittaker didn't know who to trust, and in January 2007, he reported to the police the bigger misfortune that befell him, the fact that thieves had emptied all his bank accounts. Problems didn't stop there, and he had a string of unfortunate events unfold in the days that followed. On September 17, 2004, the body of the granddaughter's boyfriend was found after a drug overdose in the Whittaker's home, and his granddaughter met the same fate 3 months earlier. 5 years later, in 2009, Jack Whittaker lost his daughter, 42-year-old Ginger Whittaker Bragg, to cancer. By this time, Whittaker was broke. In an interesting turn of events, it was revealed that Whittaker had been broke from January 2007 when he was unable to pay a number of women that had sued him. At the same time, he was also being sued by the Atlantic City casino, Caesars, after he bounced a check worth $1.5 million meant to cover his gambling losses. And in 2016, Whittaker lost his Virginia home to a fire. By this time, Whittaker was clearly a broken, perhaps depressed man, struggling with gambling and drinking, and his home and cars were burglarized too often. Over the years, Whittaker was charged for driving under the influence twice, but he was sued repeatedly, mostly by females, and at one time, 3 female employees of the casino sued him, accusing him of assault. Personality, anger, entitlement? He might have done some good and a lot of damage, but according to some people who knew him, for example, a retired forensic accountant that worked with him, Jack was a total wacko. He shared these sentiments while investigating the lottery winner during very contentious divorce from Jewel, his wife. This split happened in 2005, and it's reported that Jack was quite volatile during the divorce settlement, and he was ready to throw punches. Interviews and reports by many people who knew and interacted with Jack Whittaker show that 2 things led to his downfall: gambling and his love for strip clubs. He threw money around carelessly, and he would be known for his caddish ways that soon led to an assault on females that worked in these establishments and casinos. On one occasion, as reported in the Washington Post, Jack loudly offered one of the female bartenders money for sex, while offering $10,000 to another bartender to pose in her underwear. Both women turned down his advances. The legacy interview. So, when he appeared in an interview with the Associated Press in 2007, Whittaker already knew that his legacy was written and cast on the proverbial stone, and he couldn't do anything to change this. During this interview, he was quoted saying this, that, "I'm going to be remembered as the lunatic who won the lottery." He also added that he wasn't proud of this legacy since he had wanted to be remembered as a person that helped many. Even so, he didn't deny any of the allegations, and what the tabloids wrote, acknowledging that all the stories about him and his life were true. Today, and after his death at the age of 72 by natural causes, Whittaker is still remembered as the lunatic that won the lottery, but also the Powerball's unluckiest winner.